You're watching the Southland Conference on ESPN. Abilene, Texas on a Thursday night. And this women's college basketball matchup, the Mary Hardin-Baylor Crusaders and the Abilene Christian Wildcats. Good evening, everybody. Welcome inside the studio. Zach Carlisle alongside Owen Simpson. Thanks for stopping by. And well, we've got a couple of teams, Division I up against Division III here tonight. Let's take a look at our impact players as we look at a couple of forwards and a couple of posts inside. Michaela Mabry going to make her first start for ACU this year. Taylor Cole-Morgan for UMHB.
Yeah, Michaela Mabry coming off an injury to start the season. Went through a little bit of concussion protocol, but a good performance in the last game against Northern Colorado, 16 points coming off the bench. She is going to be a much larger impact throughout the rest of the season. Then on the other side with Cole-Morgan, the transfer coming into Mary Hardin-Baylor, a phenomenal start to the season, a double-double average. She's got to be careful inside, though. She has had some foul trouble early this year. That'll be something to watch out for in the second half.
I am interested in this game in a lot of ways. It's a lot about perspective. Abilene Christian, it's a game they're playing in a Division III school. It's a game they should win. Mary Hardin-Baylor trying to get better here tonight.
Yeah, this is going to be arguably their toughest competition of the season. It's hard to argue against that. And then for Abilene Christian on the other side, they're back home after a few days off, more than they usually have. It'll be interesting to see how they respond after that few extra days off than what they typically are used to.
Glad you're with us tonight here on ESPN Plus. Off we go from Abilene. It's the Crew, as they're known, that start with the basketball, and it's Cole-Morgan missing inside. They're going to have to give her a lot of touches tonight. A former Division I player at Houston Baptist. Now Abilene Christian with it for the first time. This is a team that's just been lighting it up offensively. 92 points per game, top 20 in the country this year.
And a lot of it has been shown from outside the perimeter. Last game against Northern Colorado, you see Cameron Mraz with that turnover there, but 8 assists last game, and a lot of that was to Anna McLeod with 7 3-pointers in that blowout win.
Inside again, Cole-Morgan, and now slinging it for Eggleston. But Cole-Morgan, the putback opportunity. No dice. So Cameron Mraz up ahead to Maddie Miller. A lot of talent, a lot of veterans in this starting lineup. Alyssa Adams scores with a foul.
Yeah, and a good job there by Adams, just taking advantage of the one-on-one. Dish inside from Maddie Miller, just puts herself in a good position and a good maneuver around for the chance for the and one here.
Adams, a senior out of San Antonio. Boy, off to a remarkable start in her senior year. First year starting for ACU. Her numbers have jumped off the screen. She's been spectacular.
And her numbers really started to improve at the end of last season, just really filling in some great minutes and then continuing that, transitioning into the new year.
It gives Abilene Christian the early lead. Mary Hardin-Baylor in the half court, into the corner for Olivia Champion, and Adams there to deflect it out of bounds. And it stays with the Crew. One of the great Division III teams, Mary Hardin-Baylor, over the years has been a constant presence in the NCAA Division III tournament. Tapped out of bounds, and a good play by Cameron Mraz to force the turnover. Anna McLeod on the left wing for ACU. The leading scorer for the Wildcats this season. Mabry, corner 3. She is in the starting lineup for the first time and hits a triple.
And has done a great job, too. Her third game of the season. That's 6 for 8 on the season beyond the arc. That's a great start.
ACU with an early 6-0 lead. A minute and a half gone by. Mary Hardin-Baylor going to have to solve this 2-3 zone riddle, and it's going to be a challenge for them. Outmatched in a lot of positions, obviously, no doubt. That jumper offline from Olivia Champion. Abilene Christian loves to run. They want to get up and down the floor. They're all about offense and getting high-scoring numbers and going in transition. That's what Julie Goodenough wants from her team.
And especially when it's a Division III opponent, you want to not just score, but you want to do it the right way. You want to see a good job on offense with plays executed the right way, and then on the same side on defense, boxing out just the fundamentals for a Division I tier team going up against a team that is clearly overmatched.
Bethany McLeod offline on a 3. Mary Hardin-Baylor yet to get in the scoring column. Adams with a tough gather and a reverse for 2. And ACU's up to an 8-0 lead.
And that is just tough to stop inside. Good containment, but just lost Adams there in a few seconds. That's all it takes.
3 minutes into this first quarter. And the Abilene Christian defense has been just as good as their offense has been so far, as they're pitching this early shutout, forcing another turnover and leading 8-0.
Yeah, good job, and that's exactly what Coach Goodenough wanted from this team, not just to see production on offense, but also getting stops on the defensive end.
Cameron Miraz, the new point guard this year after the graduation to Southland Conference Player of the Year, Brianna Wright. Maddie Miller, a newcomer into the starting lineup as well. And Mabry offline on her second attempt from distance. So it may be some new pieces in the starting lineup, but a lot of returners that are there for ACU that have experience in the past coming off the bench. And that is good for Mary Hardin-Baylor. Bethany McLeod gets the first points for the Crew. Miller trying to drive. Baseline, another reverse. ACU's done that twice in this opening quarter.
Yeah, a little bit of deja vu to start the first quarter. First Adams, now Miller. They are just driving inside the paint with hardly any resistance.
A 10-2 lead for Abilene Christian, 4 minutes in, 6 minutes to go in the first. A drive and a kick. Good pass from Elliott, and the 3 offline from the Crew that time. ACU with the early lead, and they have been getting stops defensively, but that was the only points of this game for the Crew so far. Katie Harina, one of the backup point guards, takes it to the rack and draws a foul.
And a good drive there, drawing the foul, but that's the question mark for Harina this year. Has been going to the free throw line. Just 4 of 10 on the season. Look to try and improve those numbers in this game.
And right on cue. No good on the first one. A freshman out of Liberal, Kansas. A lot of upside, they think, from Harina, who's going to move in and be a really good starting point guard in her time with the Wildcats as her career develops.
And just like a lot of other freshmen on this Abilene Christian team, it's the next generation of starters for this team. They're not going to make a huge impact in year one, but it's the years coming forward. This is the development year. And that's what every player has to go through unless you have a few of those raw talent freshmen. Just not the case for this team this year.
Alara Jones, no good on the jumper as the Crew break the press. Abilene Christian with an 11-2 lead at the 5.5-minute mark of this first quarter rather. Taylor Morgan, another point guard out there that can handle the rock, a freshman out of Fort Worth. Trying to go inside to Adams from Mabry, and it's tapped away. Oh, and not looking the other side of half court was Cheyenne Bonilla. And a turnover for the Crew. Already the 4th on Mary Hardin-Baylor.
And if you're Mary Hardin-Baylor, that is the last thing you want to find yourself in is a turnover hole and an already early deficit. If you want to play some good fundamental basketball, it's just going to be focusing on not turning the ball over against a Division I team like this.
Adams high post. There she goes, and Julie Goodenough telling us her confidence might be as high as it's ever been in her time with ACU. Wildcats with a 13-2 lead in this first quarter. Ashley Fox, number 21. Back to Bonilla with a tough shot. One thing we noticed during warm-ups, not a lot of height for Mary Hardin-Baylor, which could be problematic for them. Alyssa Adams short on the 3. And the rebound to Jones.
Yeah, it wasn't just the height also, but just the size of these players and the muscle that Abilene Christian seems to have a clear advantage on in this game.
Tough shot that rims out for Champion. And now Anna McLeod, that quick release of that jump shot, and over the back goes Harina for the foul. Abilene Christian with a 13-2 lead at our first timeout.
A last-second shot, an explosive dunk, a fast break, and the thrill of victory. Basketball is back, and so is the Southland Conference Men's and Women's Basketball Tournament in Katy. March 10th through the 14th at the Merrill Center. Get your tickets online at Ticketmaster.com. The countdown to Katy has begun.
Abilene Christian having fun so far here in quarter number 1, off to an 11-point lead, and one of the players standing out so far has been Alyssa Adams inside for ACU.
Yeah, 7 points to start for the Wildcats. The big thing that's really impressed me about Adams is her ability to separate herself from defenders after catching the ball inside the paint. She's done a great job, a couple of reverse layups, and just a phenomenal job driving into the paint for buckets.
Bethany McLeod running point guard duties for UMHB, and that jumper no good from Hannah Eggleston, the sophomore at Magnolia, Texas. And here's Adams, a second chance at a 3. Not really her specialty on this team. She's one of the few players that just plays strictly inside for Abilene Christian. There's a block defensively. Here comes Paige Borski, the sharpshooter, and it's up ahead to Cameron Miraz offline. But an offensive rebound and a second chance. ACU's 1 for 6 to start from the three-point line. Miraz to the rack.
And they haven't had to rely, though, on that three-point shot because it has been a plentiful of points inside the paint for the Wildcats in the first quarter.
Yeah, already a 10-2 advantage in that category. Make it 10-4, taken off. And scoring is Casey Jo Hinton, the junior at a College Station. And Borski, the JUCO transfer out of New York for Abilene Christian. And there's Maddie Miller, probably doing what she does best, which is just be all over the floor and take the ball away, and one of those scrappy basketball players. And a travel on Alyssa Adams. Here's Julie Goodenough, 9th year with ACU. Almost 100 more wins than losses. About as good as it gets in the Southland Conference.
Yeah, a phenomenal coach who has shown that she can bring in the raw talent that Abilene Christian needs to win conference championships. And she's done that. And she's looking to continue that after a lot of seniors graduated from last season, trying to reload and be reset for the conference tournament.
Here's a 3. Ashley Foe, the first triple for the Crew to make it an 8-point game. And one final note on Julie Goodenough, second all-time in wins at Abilene Christian. And she's only done it in 9 seasons. Pretty special. Diamond Wilcott in the paint. Get her first touch and draws a foul. Diamond Wilcott, the junior out of Cedar Hill, Texas. Julie Goodenough telling us provides the energy on the team probably for this team, but doesn't see a ton of minutes all the time. But this is one of those games you figure to see a lot of number 24.
Yeah, and these will be her first free throw attempts on the season. So again, just having, that's another great opportunity that Abilene Christian has to take on UMHB, is to get those players who don't see a lot of time and get them some experience, because who knows when that time comes, they're going to need them.
Rebound to Ashley Foe. It just builds depth that you may need come Southland Conference tournament, or come Southland Conference schedule time. Driving in, Bethany McLeod had that one swatted away.
And that's the one thing you like to see, though, about Mary Hardin-Baylor, is despite being outsized, outmatched, they're still staying aggressive.
Foul on Michaela Mabry. And the free throw drops home. Friendly roll for Bethany McLeod, a junior out of Liberty Hill, Texas. Over 55 career games played for the Crew. Backdoor cut, it's Maddie Miller from Cameron Miraz.
And a great cut back inside by Miller. Good pass. That's what you love to see on offense if you're a Wildcat.
And you said the assist numbers for Miraz have been accumulating so far. Really taking over and dishing the ball and serving her teammates.
Great ball movement on offense.
Yeah, that's wonderfully done. And the three offline from Fox. Offensive rebound, second chance. Elliott buries the three.
And just like that, some questions start to arise, some misses on offense by UMHB, but second chance points. And it's back to a single-digit game.
Final minute of this first quarter. Inside again, and it's tapped around. We're seeing a concerted effort from Abilene Christian to go into the paint. They'll have 11 on their shot clock here. A 7-point game, and Maddie Miller off the inbound. It's the five starters for the, or 4 of the 5 starters for the Wildcats, and Alice Stevenson, who corrals the ball here, freshman from Oklahoma. Miller, thought about the step back. They're getting a little creative and maybe just a little bit too much for ACU. That's a turnover. And here come the Crew with no shot clock in the final 20 seconds. It's been a little sloppy out there on the floor.
I was just about to say that. I think you were reading my mind there. A lot of loose balls, not good passes, both teams. That was some ugly 30 seconds of basketball.
We've worked together long enough now. We start to read each other's minds.
That was rough.
Is it great minds think alike, or is it just, you know?
Let's go with that.
You never know. That's what I'm thinking. Final 10 seconds. Strip here. This ball's loose, and a tie-up. Maddie Miller on the floor for Abilene Christian. 6.8 left. And the arrow to the Wildcats. Try to get off a shot here. They're currently at their season low for points in the first quarter at 18. Miraz, no good, and that takes us to the end of the first quarter. ACU a season low in points in the first, leading by 7 after 1. Back in Abilene, Texas, for Southland Conference basketball on ESPN+. Zach Carlisle alongside Owen Simpson. And Abilene Christian got off to a great start. Mary Hardin-Baylor closing the first quarter with a 9-5 burst. And they trailed just by 7, and a turnover starts quarter number 2. But Mary Hardin-Baylor got a little momentum there at the end of the quarter.
Yeah, it seemed like we were well on our way to watching what was going to be a blowout, and it still could be the case. But UMHB with a good response after the media timeout to just get refocused on offense.
Anna McLeod to the paint. Not as many outside shots for ACU. Well, just as I say that, Maddie Miller drains one from straight away. But that is just the second three-pointer for Abilene Christian. This is a team that's going to take a bunch of them every night.
And Miller's done a great job shooting from beyond the arc, 11 for 21 on the season, over 50%. And she'll look to continue that as conference opponents come near in the next year.
Inside for the Crew. They work it in the paint. We got Taylor Cole-Morgan out there, as well as Hannah Eggleston. Inside, is it a foul first? It is. It's a foul on Cole-Morgan. And back to the Miller. Nope. Over a minute in, and this is back to the Miller three-pointer.
And that's something that they have relied on throughout this season. It's something that really has been a part of their identity going back to even last year, is that three-point shot. Now, they lost a lot of that firepower last year, but they're still trying to reboost that with Anna McLeod and Maddie Miller.
Would you believe from Brianna Wright to Dominique Golightly to Lexi Duque, the three starters, you're losing 42 points per game that they had to replace. Now, they have a lot of players back with experience, but not a lot with starting experience in that many minutes. That's the question mark for Abilene Christian. Here's the turnover. Here's Miraz. That ball's loose, and the Crew come up with it. But those are the questions for Abilene Christian. And that's a transition layup for Alara Jones.
And it seems like the big question, at least right now, for Abilene Christian is the defense. 15 points given up, and really this short period of time that we saw only 2 points in the first 5, but a good response there by ACU.
Alyssa Adams again, and one chance. We talk about her numbers rising. She has been spectacular. 14 points and 8 rebounds on average this season. And Adams a chance at an and one. And pushes ACU's lead to 9. But hey, Mary Hardin Baylor, they're hanging in and playing and down by single digits in the second quarter. It's been a promising start for this proud program. It's been really, really good. Brooke Elliott drawing a foul.
Yeah, this is a matchup that Mary Hardin Baylor is not expected to even really compete in with a Division I, Division III matchup. You rarely see opportunities like this for a Division III program to come in and take on a Southland Conference program that has had so much success over the years, but here in the second quarter still fighting up against these Wildcats.
Mary Hardin Baylor 4-1 in the NCAA D3 tournament over the last handful of years. A wonderful program. Brooke Elliott, the senior out of Georgetown, Texas, couldn't hit the free throws. McLeod had that one tapped away at the three-point line. And the Crew are going to run. And that's a miss in the paint from Champion. Loose ball. Sarah Griswold kicks it out to Miller. And she's going to track down her rebound. It just feels a little uneven and bumpy on offense for ACU. Haven't quite figured it out. McLeod offline.
Yeah, that's 3 opportunities on offense for Abilene Christian. None connect. And then it wasn't like it was difficult. You know, you have 2 wide open three-point shots, just don't fall for you. But Mary Hardin Baylor has done a good job really protecting inside the paint after what we saw at the beginning in the first quarter, where we saw a lot of points coming inside. They seem to lock down a little bit more.
Abilene Christian 2 of 11 to start this game from the three-point line. Carrington Jones, number 2, diving on the floor with Anna McLeod, and this is a tie-up in the arrow to Abilene Christian. And I think defense has always been a point of emphasis and a point of if ACU over the last few years, they've always figured they're going to score with anybody. If they play defense, they figure to be a pretty hard team to beat.
And they've done a good job on these last few possessions, forcing turnovers and really just fighting for that ball whenever necessary.
Abilene Christian has wins over Howard Payne, McMurray, or rather Midwestern State. The McMurray game got canceled. Then beat Midwestern State and UT Permian Basin, and then came up with a win 6 days ago at Northern Colorado. And that has been the game that I think people wanted to see, and they came up with a 20-point road win, and now taking on Mary Hardin-Baylor here tonight.
Yeah, and just Anna McLeod was phenomenal in that performance against Northern Colorado. You go 28 points, 7 for 8 for three-pointers. Just that is a phenomenal performance that you wonder, can she replicate that with the more minutes and the more responsibilities she's really just gained after in the absence of several seniors that were on this team last year. She's had a new role this year, and it's a leadership role that she's looking to not only produce on offense, but also be a vocal leader on defense for this team.
Yeah, so ACU's at 4-0. Mary Hardin-Baylor 2-0 on this young season. They also had a game canceled that was supposed to start on November 17th. The season never really ended up starting until the 25th around college basketball. And then, so their season opener was pushed back to December 1st, playing North Texas at Dallas and winning that one pretty easily by 21, and then a win over Arlington Baptist. And now coming here to Abilene Christian, and they're going to have a rematch with North Texas and Dallas coming up as well. But Mary Hardin-Baylor is just a team that, when they get a chance like this to come to Abilene Christian, this makes them better when they play those Division III games later on. There's really no downside to playing a game like this if you're Mary Hardin-Baylor.
Yeah, and just going back to Mary Hardin-Baylor's matchup against Arlington Baptist, it was the defense that really stuck out, holding Arlington Baptist to just 31% shooting, and that kept them well within a blowout victory. And now they're trying to do the same here against a much tougher opponent, and they're doing a great job thus far on offense. 32% is what the Wildcats are shooting right now.
And that floater unable to go in for Mary Hardin-Baylor out of the timeout, and it was Carrington Jones. Mraz is stuck. Katie Harina with 15 to shoot. Sarah Griswold, one of the newcomers to this team, the redshirt sophomore out of Oklahoma. Abilene Christian's lead is in double figures. And very strong that time from Champion. And running free is Griswold for the lay-in on the other end.
And that's just something that Mary Hardin-Baylor cannot afford, is just those ill-advised shots, because the Wildcats love to do some fast break offense, as we saw right there.
Handoff long to no roll that time. Again, it was Jones. Couldn't get it to fall. Mraz may have forced one there for ACU. A lead of 13. And here's a transition chance. Up ahead to Harina for the lay-in. And a timeout called. Abilene Christian has pushed ahead their largest lead of the first half by 15.
Want to welcome all of you here and all of you watching online on this great day in Abilene Christian University history.
I want to invite you officially to join the Southland Conference on July 1, 2013. Thank you. Thank you.
As exciting as the overall prospect of going Division I was for all of the many reasons, the first thing you think about if you're a sports fan, you think basketball.
To make a jump like this to the highest level of collegiate athletics, there is a lot of excitement in this community.
Away from Mason, it'll count if it goes, it's good! It's good! Mason buries the three-pointer!
Anytime
anytime you're trying to build something, you got to get the players in place first, and you got to change the locker room and the culture. And I mean, we've got a bunch of high character kids and play the way we're supposed to play. The wins will come.
As excited as we were for all sports, everybody was thinking, maybe one day, March Madness, could it be?
Yes! They can feel it all over ACU Nation.
Back to action in Abilene, Texas, and it was a 9-0 run for ACU to push the lead to 15, and then free throws here for Mary Hardin-Baylor after the foul of Michaela Mabry, and Bethany McLeod hits a couple of foul shots, and the lead is 13 for ACU. What have you seen so far? It's been a little bit of back and forth, but Abilene Christian seeming to take a little bit of advantage here the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, see, that's the big question for Mary Hardin-Baylor is can they make a response to what the Wildcats have? And so far it has not been the case because the shots are starting to fall for this Wildcat team, something that we didn't see for a few minutes at the start of the second quarter.
That's Alice Stevenson who hits the triple. Carrington Jones running point guard duties for the Crew. That's a take, and that's no good from Caitlin Cole-Morgan, the freshman and the younger sister of Taylor Cole-Morgan. The Houston natives. And Taylor Morgan out there running point for ACU. That ball stripped, but they're going to get the foul first as Griswold was driving. And I think it's Ashley Fox who they get the reach in for. Her first foul of the game. Morgan driving and trying to draw contact. And this will stay with ACU as Griswold fought for a rebound.
And despite the miss there by Morgan, what I love to see was the quick drive inside after having the ball outside the perimeter. A good take, aggressive. Next time she'll hope that shot falls as she drives in here again.
Morgan left-handed, right on cue, partner. $18-point lead for Abilene Christian. And that pass picked off. Griswold. Chance to run. Wide open. Katie Arena from distance.
And that's Arena's first three-pointer in what will be, I'm sure, a successful career at the college level.
No one within 15 feet of her on that one. That three, no good from Fox. And now a chance to run out, and it's Morgan with a layup. And this is turning into this big rout for Abilene Christian with 2.5 to go until halftime. 23-point lead. Around the corner, McLeod, now the long two, and it's Jones. Carrington Jones, a sophomore from San Antonio. Arena and Morgan. That's a nice little duo with the guard position. Griswold, no. McLeod got the putback, and Anna McLeod into the scoring column for the first time tonight.
Yeah, and a good job by McLeod rushing to the basket off of the miss. Nobody boxed her out, and Mary Hardin-Baylor pays on that one.
That's the first field goal and the first points, as we mentioned. McLeod now 1 of 5 from the floor. Foul on Morgan of ACU. And there's a putback.
Yeah, and that's the miss right there, and just a miscommunication. No box out from the Crusaders, and you cannot forget to box out arguably one of the best players on this Wildcat roster.
Yeah, McLeod, what a season she's been having, averaging 21.5 per game. Recently named the Southland Conference Player of the Week. For 50-point performance in 2 games, and that's a good take, and that's into the paint with Hannah Eggleston. A good move. 90 ticks until halftime. McLeod, does that count or is it the whistle first? I think it's on the floor. It's the fourth foul of the quarter on Mary Hardin-Baylor. The next one is free throws for ACU, and there's Alice Stevenson inside. Well, players have been on the floor for Abilene Christian in this first half. Mid-range jumper. Eggleston, no.
And along with those 12 players for the Wildcats that have played, you've got 10 of those already in the scoring column. And that's one thing you'd love to see if your coach good enough is the ball movement. And right there with McLeod, another bucket for her.
Yeah, off the screen, hits a three. Her first triple. And a charge on the other end. And it's on Brittany McLeod, taken by Griswold with a half-minute left.
And she took a hit there, and it looked like almost her head, a first thing to go back. Able to get up on her own feet. That's a tough take to hit, but Wildcats get the call there.
Looked like a good call,
yeah.
too. Looked like Griswold was set. Virtually no difference here between the game and shot clock. ACU can basically hold for the final shot of the half. Josie Larson over to Harina. 4 seconds. And the Crew will not get a shot off, and that takes us to halftime. Abilene Christian with a 26-point lead, and halftime on ESPN is coming up after this. Halftime. Abilene Christian in front of Mary Hardin-Baylor, Division I against Division III here in the Teague Center in Abilene on ESPN. As we welcome you inside the studio, Zach Carlisle alongside Owen Simpson. It was an interesting first half because Mary Hardin-Baylor kind of hung around for just a little bit, and then Abilene Christian did what they typically do, especially in that second quarter, pulling away. And their lead is 26 points here at the break.
Yeah, what we saw at the beginning was right at the start of the game, 13-2 Abilene Christian on top. We're looking, okay, here we go. Here's the blowout. And then UMHB made a great response after the media timeout. They close out the first quarter, do a good job. And for starters, held ACU to only 18 points in the first quarter, something that hasn't been done for this team this season. So something to say, a big props for Mary Hardin-Baylor, a Division III team that no one was expecting to even really be able to compete against for an Abilene Christian team that has had such success in the Southland Conference this year.
You know, it started slow. Michaela Mabry hitting a three. Mary Hardin-Baylor doing more inside, which has been a challenge because ACU's got some height and got some post presence. Alyssa Adams has done some good things on the other side. But I thought ACU had a kind of a concerted effort to work it offensively in the paint, which is kind of not really their MO. They love to just shoot it from the three-point line.
Yeah, we saw one-dimensional offenses from really both of these teams in the first half. Looking at Abilene Christian, only 5 made threes in the first half, and then only a couple for Mary Hardin-Baylor. Most of these shots were taken inside because off of either fast break shots like we see right there from Mary Hardin-Baylor, or also with Alyssa Adams on the other side, just creating some separation inside the paint. She did a phenomenal job at that.
Yeah, Adams really has to be that standout player. 10 points in the first half, leads all scorers. Maddie Miller with 7. It's kind of been the unusual names. It hasn't been the McLeods and the Mabrys who have been doing all the damage for Abilene Christian offensively. They've kind of gone down, and it's been a few different players scoring the ball for them.
Yeah, when you take a look at this team, when you go into this kind of matchup, there's going to be a lot of questions about, you know, who's going to step up. Big questions on that.
Yeah, I agree. And for Mary Hardin-Baylor, it's kind of a tough challenge for them, obviously. Division III going to Division I. That speaks for itself. But I give them props, and I think that they showed in this first half that they're going to be a very hard team to beat down the road because they were playing a lot of different players as well, and they showed up and proved to hang around there for a quarter, maybe 12, 13 minutes of that first half. I think they showed a lot of promise. I was impressed with what I saw.
I think the biggest thing, too, is when you go down in the way they did at the beginning of this game, go down 13-2, you start off 1 for 10 shooting in the first quarter. They made a great response, and that's something that's the hardest thing for any team, especially a team on the road going up against a Division I opponent.
There's your halftime numbers in terms of leading scorers. I think the most important column is the one on the right, though. Taylor Colmorgan, the leading scorer for UMHB this season, averaging a double-double, 0 in that first half.
And the thing about Colmorgan is a history with Abilene Christian over last season playing at Houston Baptist. She also struggled in both of those matchups when they took on ACU, made only 1 field goal in both of those 2 games combined. So she has struggled to shoot the ball offensively against ACU. Not sure if it's just a confidence factor or if it's just simply that this Wildcat team knows how to defend her.
Also a couple of fouls in that first half for Colmorgan, the grad transfers you mentioned from Houston Baptist and a native of Houston. Now her and her sister on the same roster as well. But no doubt the highlight of this first half has been Alyssa Adams as she's warming up and getting ready for the second half. The senior from San Antonio, I mean, her numbers have been great. Her confidence is at an all-time high. She has now asserted herself in the starting lineup for Abilene Christian this season. And Julie Goodenough has been thrilled with what she's seen this year from Adams.
And she has made tremendous strides from where she was at the beginning of the last season to where she is now. We really saw a tremendous improvement, I really have to say, in Southland Conference competition, what we saw last season near the end, and it's now also transferring over into this 2020-21 season. And I think that she is going to be a key piece for this Wildcat team when the conference play starts in January.
Yeah, you mentioned she's on pace for 14 rebounds tonight. She's 7 in the first half. Really one of the few players on the team that is solely an inside presence. You've got Michaela Mabry, who's kind of a stretch 4 who shoots it a lot from the outside. Adams has taken a couple of threes, but really is an interior presence and is going to be really hard to stop, I think, in Southland play too.
Yeah, she has a great basketball IQ of what she needs to do to create some separation inside the paint. She does a great job with that, and also benefits the rest of the team because when she can dominate inside the paint, that's what we saw later in the second quarter when it opened up some shots outside the perimeter.
Taking a look at some of these first half replays as well. And again, there's Adams for ACU. And then a rare 3 from Ashley Fox for Mary Hardin Baylor as well. And then a couple of shots that fall for Mary Hardin Baylor. What are you expecting to see in the second half? I think, maybe you throw the score out if you're Mary Hardin Baylor, and maybe if you're ACU, you do the same thing. It's a 26-point game. They might not be looking at what the score says here in the second half.
Yeah, I think the first 5 minutes, we're going to find out if Mary Hardin Baylor has anything left in the tank, because at the end of that second quarter, we really saw Abilene Christian moving the ball, fast break offense, getting stops on defense. Now can UMHB respond? Can they get something rolling as we near the third quarter?
Mary Hardin Baylor will start with it. Thanks for watching the halftime report, and we are getting ready for quarter number 3 here in Abilene, Texas. Mary Hardin Baylor with Bethany McLeod and Lara Jones out there too. That's a challenging shot underneath from Brooke Elliott. Couldn't get it to go. The Wildcats with a stop. And McLeod dribbled it off of her right foot.
Thank you. Stay right there.
That's one thing we saw a little bit too, was turnovers. It got a little sloppy at times, I thought, in the first half.
Yeah, it was just a few possessions really for both teams. We didn't see a consistent sloppy basketball first half. It was really just a few minutes where we saw things really get out of hand.
That's a nice pass. And Olivia Champion finishes inside. The sophomore out of Costa Rica. scored just 8 points all of last year and scored a career-high 13 just a couple of games ago. That's Adams. That's an and one. It's her third chance at a three-point play in the ball game.
And she makes it look just so effortless. She gets the ball inside the paint. She already has great position. That she does this great job at finding a way to get open. And then once she has that ball, she is so difficult to contain. Just a couple steps, and she has an and one opportunity.
Just the way she can move and get herself into strange positions and still gets the ball to go in the hoop, and has been an excellent free throw shooter this year as well. Adams tonight is 3 for 3 from the stripe. Backdoor McLeod, and it's out of bounds to the Crew. Early moments of quarter number 3. McLeod picks off the pass from McLeod. Anna the other way draws a foul.
We've seen a lot of that in favor of the Wildcats. Points off turnovers. They had 13 so far in this one, and that's something that's also been a big factor as why they're in the lead, is taking advantage of steals and really forcing UMHB on offense to make those dangerous passes.
They have forced 12 turnovers tonight. For UMHB, rebound to Hannah Eggleston. Brooke Elliott turning corner, got it. Good take from Elliott, the senior from Georgetown, Texas. Over 90 career games played with UMHB. Then the turnover, and it's back to the Crew. There's Elliott.
Yeah, just a good take inside, and that's what they need of, and that's what they relied on in the first half, was the aggressive basketball, taking it inside. And they have paid too a few times, hitting the ground. And now another chance to score off a bad inbounds pass by the Wildcats. Just a few of those mistakes that we've seen in this game.
ACU doubling up UMHB. Elliott drawing the foul on Adams. Free throws coming. A lot of contact in the paint. Elliott was a part of the All-American Southwest Conference freshman team back in the 2017-18 year. Now a senior with this phenomenal program. Mary Hardin-Baylor 26-4 last year. ASC tournament champs. They won the title over Hardin-Simmons, who is a school that resides here in Abilene. There's Adams. Give and go action for two.
And just her reach already gives her a huge advantage driving inside. And a good take there. We're going to see more of that anytime she's out on the court.
ACU by 25. And the rebound to Adams. That pass telegraphed from Miraz and picked off. And back come the Crew. Their defense at times forcing some turnovers and mixing it up. I really have been impressed from Mary Hardin-Baylor. It sounds crazy when they're down 25 points like that, but they go into the paint here and convert again, another basket.
Yeah, great move inside the paint by Champion. Just to create that separation right after picking up the ball. Use that extra step to her advantage.
McLeod couldn't get that one to rattle home. Elliott feeding the corner, and it's Champion from the long two spot.
And they're answering the question that I had coming into the second half. Is there anything left in the tank to propel this team and stay competitive in the second half? They already have 10 points here in the third quarter.
Boy, how did McLeod not travel right there and draws a foul? The interior Might be on Elliott. Back to the Crew, the long two.
And that's just the unselfish basketball, finding the open opportunity there. And they've already matched their total points from the last quarter back in the second.
Olivia Champion. Here's Anna McLeod at the line. That's a rare miss. This has been a player, a transfer from Louisiana Tech in her 3rd year with ACU, 2nd year playing after redshirting a couple of years ago, native of Houston. A preseason all-conference player, has been a great free throw shooter over the course of her career and hits the second. McLeod has to be, we think, and we've seen from coaches and talking to people going into the season, it feels like McLeod kind of has to be the star for Abilene Christian. Here she goes. That's an and one. McLeod dazzling in transition. And a chance at a 3-point play.
And right on cue there, partner, with the and one right after making her free throw. Finally making a presence inside the paint again here in the second half. Tell you, she does a great job at the fast break offense, whether it's finding an open shot outside the perimeter or taking it inside by herself.
A natural scorer of the basketball. Julie Goodenough calls it one of the best looking jump shots you will ever see. Backcourt pressure. Mary Hardin Baylor breaks it. That's a tough shot and a near and one for the Crew. And Ashley Fox is going to go to the line for a pair. Well, I tell you, Mary Hardin Baylor, they are fighters. They are hard workers. Great effort tonight, and they have not backed down from this challenge one bit.
Yeah, just coming into this matchup, outsize, more talent on the opposing team, and you know they don't even care about that fact. They just go in, they drive inside the paint, and take the contact. Just really playing aggressive basketball, and that's something they had to do in this game.
Ashley Fox, a 4-time All-State player out of Frisco, Texas. Foul off the ball. It may be on the interior on Caitlin Colmorgan. But Abilene Christian with a 24-point lead. Their lead grew to as much as 27. Less than a minute into the third, and I'm not really sure what they were sorting out right there. But it's Alyssa Adams at the free throw line after all of that.
Yeah, you know the Wildcats certainly won't complain if Alyssa Adams heads to the free throw line of all people.
McDonald's All-American nominee at Johnson High School in San Antonio. Just got better each and every year, reaping the benefits as a senior. Is that a foul? Yes, it is. Boy, that shot had no chance of going in for Fox. I think the foul's on McLeod.
Yeah, McLeod trying to get the offensive foul on that opportunity there, but maybe next time. Maybe next time.
Fox with a couple of foul shots. And as this game continues to grow in the lead for Abilene Christian, they'll start to look towards Sunday because they have by far their best test. And it will be their toughest game all season long. Sunday, they're going to number 10, Texas A&M in College Station.
Yeah, and Texas A&M had opportunities to go up against some Southland competition already this season, but yeah, Abilene Christian definitely their toughest test of the year. It's gonna expose some weaknesses on this team, and that's what any coach wants to see is, okay, how can we improve before the conference season starts? Texas A&M is going to be that for ACU.
And if it gives you any idea, it gives you an idea of what your weaknesses are. That's, I mean, if when you're playing a bunch of these games, ACU's played D3 and D2 and and just the 1v1 road game, you're going to learn about what your team does need to improve upon. January 2nd's coming quicker than we think it is. That's when Southern Conference play begins for Abilene Christian. Michaela Mabry, that's a three, that's no good. And Adams, the putback, I thought maybe there'd be a foul call, no whistle. Miller, Euro step, no dice.
And great effort there by Miller, though, creating some separation outside the perimeter, driving inside. Just got to connect on that next shot attempt.
The third quarter has been ACU's best quarter in terms of point differential at plus 53 this year. Mary Hardin-Baylor outscoring ACU in this third. Now 15-12 after the bucket for Elliott. It's been a good third frame for the Crew. McLeod, no. And that foul is going to take us to a break. Mary Hardin-Baylor with 15 points in the third. Abilene Christian leads by 23. Peek behind the curtain. It's the ACU TV. Hutton Harris and his student run crew doing a great job flipping the switches. You know, they're making us look better than we deserve to look, is quite honestly what's happened. And, you know, they do a great job behind the scenes making all of this possible. Abilene Christian in front by 23. We were talking off air before we came back on. It's getting a little sloppy out there on the floor.
Yeah, that's just been the big problem really for Abilene Christian here in the third quarter, is just struggling to, one, shoot the ball and also protect the ball on offense. Just a few mistakes, inbound passes gone wrong, and that's why Mary Hardin-Baylor has the 15 points they do here in the third quarter.
Anna McLeod drawing a foul. McLeod up to 9 points, coming off of a career high 28 on 7 of 9 from the three-point line against Northern Colorado on December the 4th. And is really just a special offensive talent and is now into double figures. We talked about it briefly, but we think she has to be the stud scorer for them to be contenders in the South.
Yeah, she definitely has to be the most consistent player for this Wildcat team, like we're seeing here today with Alyssa Adams, 17 points. There's going to be those moments where these players go off and produce in ways that they're not typically going to throughout the rest of the season. But Alyssa Adams is also continuing on that trend of her offensive production that we've seen early in this season.
Olivia Champion there for Mary Hardin-Baylor, and it is Abilene Christian going back the other way with Taylor Morgan, the freshman from Fort Worth. Offense is getting going a little bit here in the third. Bad pass from Champion, tapped away by Griswold, and Adams comes up with it. McLeod up ahead, got behind the defense. That's a savvy play from a veteran.
And when McLeod can't get the shots to fall from the three-point line, she's 1 for 6 today. She takes it inside and does it like that. Good performance from her.
That one looked like it went off the left thumb. An awkward shot there from Mary Hardin-Baylor. I think it was Fox. And now on the interior, this is contact and a foul on Alyssa Adams. ACU. She going back to the line? I think so, with 2.5 to play.
And after missing that first shot, getting her own offensive rebound, it's already a double-double for Alyssa Adams in the third quarter. What a performance.
Good player for these Wildcats. Has done it before, had a double a year ago against Southeastern Louisiana. Abilene Christian and Julie Goodenough has kind of established this and has not been afraid to come out and say it, and has really emphasized it to her program. They want three-pointers, layups, and free throws. That's what they're about.
Yeah, without a doubt, and that's why we have such a potent offense that we've seen from Abilene Christian in the years past that we've covered this team. They do a phenomenal job at spreading the ball out on offense. That has been their go-to, and it's led to success in the past years.
Ball out of bounds, and it's going to stay with the Crusaders. So we've got, what, 12, 20 to go in this ball game. You just, one, you don't want anybody to get hurt. You just want these teams to learn, get better, and get ready for what's next, because I think both of these teams have chances to have really good seasons. Mary Hardin Baylor at the Division III level, Abilene Christian Division I in the Southland Conference.
And see, this is a question I love asking coaches at any level. It's when you get up big like this, at what point in time do you bring out your key players, your starters, those who are going really to propel you later in the season when they actually are needed? And it really just depends on every coach. For some coaches, you're like, well, you want your players to stay in a rhythm, you want them to stay confident, give them some minutes that they need, and then on the other hand, it's we're going to protect them at all costs. It really just depends on what coach you're talking to.
No question about it. Because it's tough. The evaluation process, I've always found fascinating from the Abilene Christian perspective in a game like this. What is the evaluation process like? How do you know? And really, it feels like it's a game where you just want all 13 of your players to play. Mary Hardin Baylor on the other side, they want to do that too. They want to get all kinds of players opportunities. That's a nice little floater, and that's good. Bethany McLeod. Reach in foul, Paige and Borski for ACU. That could be, and Borski could be a wild card too. The junior out of New York for Abilene Christian. That was McLeod with the jumper. But Borski, one of those great shooters as well, the second team All-American at Niagara County Community College. 42% from the three-point line last year with Niagara, second in the country at the JUCO level. And that's what Julie Goodenough wants. That's what they need, right? It's just another three-point shooter for this team.
Well, when you are blessed, or should I say spoiled, with the raw talent from beyond the arc, no coach is going to complain. And she's a great piece to this new team.
I was checking my notes, and I wanted to make sure I was correct before I just go out and throw words out there. It is the fourth career double-double for Alyssa Adams in the game for Abilene Christian. 2 of them a year ago. First of the season here, McLeod splashes home a triple.
And you have to imagine with Alyssa Adams, it's not going to be the last double-double that she has this season.
Just looks to be, she just looks different out there. I mean, it really does. We've seen this team a lot over the years. Awkward pass, tapped away, and Sarah Griswold comes up with it. Final minute of this third quarter. It's a high-scoring third. We've seen 45 points in the frame. And Borski. And ACU's got 10 to shoot. Morgan draws a foul with 6 on the shot clock. Back to the McLeod triple.
And Anna McLeod hasn't shot as well as she did the last game from the three-point line, but that one falls her second make in this game. She's up to 16 points. It has been a great combination from Anna McLeod with 16 and Alyssa Adams with 19. Just a great performance from these two athletes.
Taylor Morgan at the foul line. All Saints Episcopal High School in Fort Worth. Was the district offensive player of the year as a junior. Did her thing, all district, all state, all region, all world player in high school, and she has now 8 points on the evening. 2 shy of her season high in a rookie campaign. 20 seconds left in the third. Mary Hardin Baylor can hold for the final shot. Elliott to Jones, loose ball, 5 seconds. And that's offline. That takes us to the end of the third. Abilene Christian, 6 3-pointers. They want to keep a streak alive. We'll talk about it as we start the fourth quarter here in Abilene, Texas. These are the upcoming games for ACU. We mentioned that they're going to 10th-ranked Texas A&M on Sunday, and then a couple of games against UT Tyler, and then they're going to Florida for the Hatter Classic December 19th through the 20th. But that game Sunday is the highlight of their December schedule, playing the 10th-ranked team in the country in the Aggies.
Yeah, for a team who hasn't lost yet this year, you're going to find out, okay, what are our weaknesses? What is going to be the it factor as you near your conference play in 2021? You're going to find out some of your weaknesses about your team and what you can improve on before those crucial games matter in the Southland.
Start of quarter number 4, Zach Carlisle, Owen Simpson for Southland Conference basketball on ESPN+. Off we go with quarter number 4. We talked about it briefly. Gave a little tease going to the break, going to the fourth. That's what they call it in the TV business, you know. Abilene Christian's got 6 3-pointers. They're 6 of 19. They've hit double-digit threes in every game so far this year. They're trying to keep that streak alive. McLeod goes inside, and this is a foul on Adams on the rebound attempt for ACU. We'll see if they get there. They're at 6. They need to get to 10 to try to keep the streak alive. They might not even care about any of that.
And see, that's something that I find kind of interesting because it kind of shows that, okay, the way you have played today has not been the same way you've played in previous games this season. What I mean by that is they've taken the ball inside way more than they typically do in most games because they heavily rely on that 3-point shot. Not as much today, but they didn't necessarily need to rely on it. It's just a different style of basketball that this team isn't typically used to.
I mean, you're talking about a team over the last 3 years that has averaged 29 attempts per game from the 3-point line. That is a crazy high number, and it's exciting to watch, and I think that's an element that gets forgotten. They bring an element that you really want to watch this team play night in and night out. Their fans come and they watch a team that is just acrobatic getting up and down the floor. Adams, awkward lob pass, a little too far from Miller, tapped out of bounds. Abilene Christian ended up winning the third quarter 27-20. It was looking a little dicey there for the Wildcats in that quarter. And McLeod, 2 more to open the fourth for ACU.
Yeah, the Mary Hardin Baylor offense really came to life in the third quarter. They almost scored as many points in the third quarter as they did in the first half, just 1 point shy. And that had to attribute to a lot of great passing and some shots starting to finally fall that didn't in the first half for the Crusaders.
Good adjustments, too, from one of the great coaches, Mark Moorfield, in his 6th year. How about this? He's got 111 wins up against just 33 losses in 6 seasons. He's done a spectacular job. 4-1 record in the NCAA tournament at the D3 level with Mary Hardin Baylor. They got a good coach. They want to keep him there for a while.
And there's no other reason why. I mean, just look at the record and his history with this team. And, you know, this is a matchup that, you know, is going to go down. It's a win for Abilene Christian, but for Mary Hardin Baylor, they're going to learn a lot about who they are with this team because, again, just like I mentioned with Abilene Christian and Texas A&M that's upcoming, it shows your weaknesses and helps you become a better team and a better coach as well.
Maddie Miller to the rack, into double figures in points tonight. Junior from Wiley, Texas. That's a catch and shoot 3 from Fox. Miller with the rebound. That's a one-handed pass up ahead. And that's a travel on Abilene Christian. The Miller bucket.
Yeah, Miller just doing a good job creating a little bit of room outside, and once that lane was open, she took full steam ahead. And as you mentioned, double figures for Miller, 4 of 8 shooting in today's game.
3 players in double-digit scoring for Abilene Christian. Adams leading the way with 19. McLeod 18. After a slow start, McLeod coming in. Rest of the game, that's a turnover on Mary Hardin Baylor, and it is their 19th of the contest. No Crusader has yet to hit double figures in the game in scoring. McLeod, did she travel? Yes, she did. Back-to-back travels on Abilene Christian. Where do you see this Abilene Christian team? They were picked third in the Southland Conference preseason poll. They were the number 3 seed going into the Southland Conference tournament that never happened last March after COVID hit and everything got shut down. Picked third. They've lost a lot. So did the rest of the league. What's your outlook on this team?
You know, I think it's just too early to tell because not only, you look at the record, you're going to see 5-0 on it. You think, okay, this is a good team, but you got to see who they've played. They've not been challenged except for one game where they took down Northern Colorado. That was really their only test so far of the year. And again, when you play non-conference and you shift into that conference play when the year turns around, the way you play basketball can change drastically because it's teams that you have played year in, out, and sometimes multiple times too, because when you have this familiar setting with this opponent, it changes the way you play and it really changes the way you prepare for these games. So I think it's hard to say. I think this team has a ton of talent. It has, I think, a lot of great transfers that have come in and really filled these holes that they really needed to fill coming in from last season where they lost so much of their offensive production. So I think it's too early to tell, but I think this team, if they continue to shoot the way they have this season, that's been the big question. Who is going to score for this team? Well, they've answered that question so far. So I think as long as their offense continues to produce, they're going to be in a contention for the Southland Conference title.
You got players like Alyssa Adams who continue to produce to 21 points, matching her season high. That's a near and one foul inside, and that was Hannah Eggleston who's going to end up at the stripe for Mary Hardin Baylor. That's a good point too about them. They haven't really been challenged yet as Abilene Christian. Obviously, they're going to Sunday with Texas A&M. Is it a measuring stick game? I don't know. I mean, it's they're not at the level of Texas A&M. It's a mid-major going to a Power 5, so that's hard to really say if that's a game where you say, all right, well, if we lose that game by 20, are we not a good basketball team? I don't think that's the case either. I think, to me, that the interesting one will be the Florida trip for this team when they play UAB and Stetson. Division I teams that those are games that if you win those, that'll be really good for the RPI and all those metrics. And then when conference play begins in January as well. So you're right, it's kind of yet to be determined with not just Abilene Christian, with anybody. That's a triple from the outside. Cheyenne Bonilla hits one from distance. And it's so early in the season. It's December 10th. We're going all the way till March, hopefully. Got a long way to go.
And that's another factor that you often don't weigh in is, worst case scenario, a team has a COVID outbreak. How does that affect a team that is either having a lot of success, they're on a winning streak, and then you maybe have to cancel a game? Or maybe on the other hand, if you're struggling as a team, maybe gives you a little bit extra of a break to figure out some of the problems and adjust. But again, that's another big factor that has never even been something that we've ever talked about, is how it can affect a team, is a virus. So it's going to be interesting to see how, you hope that these players, they stay healthy along with the coaches and the entire universities here, but it's certainly a question that is within reason that could impact these teams going forward.
Taylor Colmorgan missing that shot, still scoreless tonight. Averaging double-double on the year. That is another three from Bonilla, the freshman out of Horizon City, Texas. Back-to-back triples. That's a good point you make about COVID, too, because, I mean, obviously that's the the second opponent for everyone all season long. And you've got news coming out today that Duke has the Duke men's basketball team has basically canceled anything non-ACC related. They're done. Basically up until conference play begins for them. So they're shutting things down. We've seen Gonzaga on the men's side have to shut things down. We got a lot going on. It's the final 4 minutes and 42 seconds in Abilene, Texas on the other side. Upcoming for the Crusaders, next 3 games to close out December and then open January. UNT Dallas, Laterno, and North American before they open the conference schedule. The American Southwest Conference schedule is on January the 7th. It's just a team that hasn't played a lot of games so far. They're only 2-0. It's game number 3, and they've only got 2 more left in the month of December. They're trying to build a schedule, as is everybody, and we'll see how it goes.
And it's difficult, and you can ask any athletic department, any coach who has to try and schedule games during a COVID-19 pandemic. It's tough, and it depends on the teams, too.
Abilene Christian winning in this fourth quarter 10-7, and lead has grown up to 36 points. Paige Amborski and Maddie Miller out there. There's a lob in. That is Griswold. And one on the putback chance for Sarah Griswold, the redshirt sophomore out of Oklahoma.
And a good job, the extra effort from Griswold after that first miss, gets the rebound and draws the contact for the and one opportunity. Again, a lot of young talent on this Wildcat team.
Griswold, interesting start to the season. You have Michaela Mabry, who was in concussion protocol. This is Fox for 3, no. Diamond Wilcott with a rebound. You got Michaela Mabry, who didn't start the first couple of games. It was Sarah Griswold who got the start. And a newcomer to the team, gelling with the starting 5. Now coming off the bench is a good weapon for Julie Goodenough.
Yeah, and she does a good job, especially inside, drawing the foul right there. 5 rebounds, too. That's something else that should go down as mentioned, because she does a great job rebounding the ball on offense and defense for this team. And that's something that they may need when players get in foul trouble when the conference season comes around. She may need to step up for this team.
Yeah, you mentioned the rebounding. Griswold averaging over 4 boards per contest. Morgan driving, had that one stripped away. Abilene Christian will keep it with 10 on the shot clock. Josie Larson checking in. Larson, the senior from San Antonio. Anywhere to go with it. Nearly the 5-second call. It's the take from Morgan. And no foul. The ball just out of bounds with just 2 to shoot.
I'd love to see what Goodenough writes up for this Wildcat team out here.
They lob it in, time running out, and a travel first. That looked like a lob in to set up a pass, and there wasn't enough time to do that.
And right now, Abilene Christian has all of their starting 5 on the bench right now, so this is the big question back in the third quarter is, when do you start to rest your players? So an inexperienced Wildcat team out there.
Taylor Morgan, steal, basket, and she's matched her career high through the first 5 games of her career. 10 points tonight.
And in just 12 minutes, too. Good performance from her.
Fox somehow got a shot off. Not really sure how she did that. 3 minutes to go tonight. Josie Larson. Never really been afraid to shoot it from the outside. Lead is 40 for Abilene Christian. Diamond Wilcott with a steal. Yeah, I'm excited about the the future of these two teams for the rest of this year. I think both have chances to have good seasons. Mary Hardin Baylor's been a standard over the years. The American Southwest Conference in Division III. You know, pretty good football school too. Mary Hardin Baylor national champs a couple of years ago. They're well known in Texas at the Division III level.
Yeah, they are very respected too at the Division III level, just doing everything they can to make themselves known out of Belton, Texas. And just, you know, these are games that these teams really appreciate to have, especially during COVID-19 pandemic, but also, again, just the opportunity for UMHB to go up against Abilene Christian and just figure out some of the pieces that they still need to have solved when that conference play comes around in 2021. And then the same thing on Abilene Christian's side, just exposing some kind of weaknesses that for Abilene Christian haven't exactly been known, as they're about to go 5-0 on the early season.
Yeah, you mentioned Mary Hardin Baylor, and when conference play rolls around, they were picked to win the American Southwest West Division again. Did that last year, won the tournament title. There's a pretty good school here in Abilene in women's basketball too. Hardin-Simmons University, which was formerly coached by Julie Goodenough, now with Abilene Christian. It's a small world out there, folks. 1:45 to go tonight. Katie Harina. No good on the three, and the foul on the Wildcats, and it's on Hannah Matthews, the freshman center, into the ball game. And now officially every player on the Wildcat roster has played tonight. We've seen a lot of Crusaders as well. That one rims out in the foul. Jacqueline Silliers, the freshman from Austin, at the charity stripe. Yeah, we've seen 13 Crusaders tonight. Silliers, Lake Travis High School. Freshman guard. Into the scoring column. 1:25 to go. Abilene Christian close to their season average in points, hitting 90. I mean, if they keep it up all season long, my goodness, that's a three.
Yeah, 90, 91 points per game on the season. That would, I'd have to say, if you average that in a season, probably going to win the Southland Conference.
Did we cover a game, was it late February last year, I believe? Abilene Christian, the women played Sam Houston State. What
94-91.
a crazy game that was.
94-91.
185 points that night.
In other words, not a lot of defense. That's what I'd have to say about that game.
Hannah Matthews, it's her first career points. The freshman. Into the scoring column as a collegiate athlete. A fake, a strip, and a steal from Alice Stevenson. Final 45 seconds tonight. Harina, another chance. This one, a triple. But that streak is going to come to a close. That's just the seventh three. Just the seventh three for ACU tonight.
Low for ACU standards.
That's right. 7 of 23. This ball's loose. Up ahead, blocked. Oh, a foul first. It's a foul first, and Harina's going to go to the line. Let's go back to the three-pointer, the 7th of the night for the Wildcats.
And Harina doing a great job. 9 points in this game, and that was her second triple. Again, that is going to be a player to remember in the coming years. A lot of potential. Coach Goodenough has a lot of things to say about her.
Yes, you know, was really, really good with Liberal High School, too. State qualifier in track and field, cross country. She can run. That's exactly what this team wants, is someone who can run up and down the floor. Abilene Christian is going to go to 5-0 again. Third straight year with that calling card. And a dominant 46-point win for Abilene Christian here tonight. The final score is ACU 95 and Mary Hardin Baylor 49. It was a dominant victory for ACU as they win it 95-49. Zach Carlisle, Owen Simpson, the whole gang, so long, take care, good night from Abilene, Texas.